Debbie Johnston, the City County Health Department representative, and we're glad to have you here and look forward to working with you. So we'll go around and do introductions. Jean?
Don MacArthur, Missoula Urban Transportation District.
Debbie Johnston, I'm the appointee from the Missoula City County Health Department, Board of Health, sorry.
Dudley Improda, Planning Board.
Ben Nunnally, MDT, sitting in for Ed Taves.
John Hagan, Mayor of the City of Missoula.
Dave Strohmeyer, Missoula County.
Aaron, go ahead.
Aaron Wilson, City of Missoula Transportation. David Gray, Missoula MDO.
All right. Thanks. We have minutes from May 15th. I'd entertain a motion to approve or amend those.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Public comment? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed, no. That passes, and those are approved. We don't really have any members of the public here, but we'll call for public comment just in case. All right. So we'll move into a presentation and discussion on the potential build grant application put forth by the city and county for transportation network improvements in the Mullen area west of Reserve Street. And Jeremy Keene is here to present that item.
Thank you. Nice to see all of you this afternoon. We spoke with the TPCC about a week ago about this project. WGM Group has been asked by Missoula County to update the 2017 Tiger grant application for the Mullen Road area grid road network. It's been called several different things over the years, but this is the third attempt at getting funding for this project. Tiger has become BUILD, same basic program. It's discretionary transportation grants, different name. Most of the criteria are the same, a few minor things, different areas of emphasis, but basically our task is to retool the grant we did in 2017, see if we can sharpen it up, make it a little bit more competitive, and resubmit it. So we're hoping to get letters of support from various agencies and groups like yourselves. And, the grant is due on July 19th, so fairly short time frame. We're working through it pretty quick. I'll give you a synopsis of where I think we're headed. This is still a work in progress, so it may change a little bit, but I think generally this is the idea. When we did the grant in 2017, the focus was really on getting access to the airport lands. There was an opportunity at the time to use TIF money that was about to sunset to create access to areas of the airport that they've designated for industrial development. This would be light industrial related to aviation as well as non-aviation industrial development that would have the advantage of having both airside and landside access, which is fairly unique. Our efforts in this go around, we've shifted the focus a little bit away from the airport, partly because that opportunity with TIF money is not there anymore, but also because we think it might be a little bit stronger to talk about this in terms of neighborhood creation and transportation infrastructure that supports good development patterns. The airport's still a part of that. It's still a potential for creating a lot of jobs that can be located close to where we have housing. So we'll weave that in, but the focus is shifting a little bit more around the network of George Elmer Drive, Mary Jane Boulevard, and England Boulevard, and how those as kind of primary transportation corridors can help support good compact development and mixed use in that area in a way that we get development occurring close to town and not spread out throughout the county. So there's a lot of potential for development in that area. The idea and the focus of our narrative in the grant is going to be to say, if we provide infrastructure here, it helps facilitate those jobs and as residences to happen close to town rather than occurring further out. And excuse me, one of the things that we've seen is there's a lot of inflation in terms of land values and home values in Missoula, and that's starting to drive more and more people way outside of Missoula for looking for housing on more affordable land. So cheaper land outside of town, it's kind of low-hanging fruit as far as developing and finding more affordability, but it creates transportation costs for the people that live there and transportation costs for the county and state and federal agencies that have to maintain those roads. And so looking at how we can do compact development and use the infrastructure that's already there and try to make transportation more efficient within a neighborhood rather than being spread out and solely single car or vehicle dependent. So a couple of the key points in the grant, to provide infrastructure that supports a mix of land uses, reduce the cost of county road improvements and maintenance by reducing travel miles for commuters, businesses, and shipment of goods. Encouraging non-motorized travel and transit by providing a safer, more convenient option for walking and biking. Providing land uses and compact development that will result in tax revenues that can help sustain local roads over the long term. And alleviating congestion and reducing the need for non-local funding of regional roads. So having to use federal money to improve other outside roads. Part of the theory behind this project has always been that Mullen Road is a single access in and out of that area. It serves many hundreds of homes, and connecting across this area to West Broadway would provide alternate routes. It'll relieve congestion at Mullen and Reserve, as well as facilitating development within that area. It provides an alternate route. So there's transportation benefits in terms of reduced congestion and delay, also reduced vehicle miles in terms of out of direction travel when people are trying to go to the airport or to the north to get on I-90, routes like that. So it provides a more direct route. So the idea is to create a desirable neighborhood, somewhere that's attractive to live and do business with that network of streets. These will be designed as complete streets with sidewalks and bike lanes, improving connectivity and access to about 400 acres of land at the airport that could be developed for industrial uses. New trails to link residents to work, schools, and preservation of open space for parks, agriculture, stream restoration along Grant Creek, and also providing a buffer from the airport. So these are the areas we're looking to focus on the build grant. Like I said, this is still a work in progress. We're massaging the budget a little bit to see what we can afford as far as a local match and trying to target a good number in the grant application that we think will be competitive. So I don't think all of these things are going to make it into the project in the end, but the primary focus is to complete George Elmer Drive up to Broadway with either signals or roundabouts at each end, roundabout in the middle at England Boulevard, then extending England to connect over at Flynn Lane where England exists over to Reserve Street, and then completing Mary Jane Boulevard, which would have a new signal or roundabout on Mullen and connect to the existing Mary Jane in the Pleasant View development, and also connecting Mary Jane up to Broadway with a traffic signal or roundabout there. And then mixed in with that are trail connections. We've outlined and started to run some cost estimates on the various trail connections that we think would be beneficial in terms of getting to Hellgate School and connecting people over to Reserve Street, extending the Mullen Trail, the idea of a trail along Grant Creek. That might be something that is more in the future or might be a portion of it included in the grant. And all these trails have a lot of opportunities to connect our wider kind of regional trail system. We've got been working on the Mullen Trail and the connection of the Milwaukee Trail across the river. So that's in the wings, and being able to extend the Milwaukee Trail to the west and eventually connect that vision of a 100-mile-plus trail all the way to Idaho. There's also the idea of the People's Way, which is the trail following the Highway 93 corridor, connecting the reservation to historic tribal lands in the Bitterroot. And so that's kind of a neat opportunity too, that this area could provide part of that connectivity by connecting trails from south to north and extending up along the interstate. So it has good regional benefits, good local benefits, and it's a project that has the opportunity to create a lot of economic development as well as those transportation improvements, and that'll be part of the way we frame that in the grant is the opportunity for private investment to follow this public infrastructure investment. So that's what I have today. I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Dave?
Thanks, Jeremy. Could you talk a little bit more about the local match and how match requirements have changed from Tiger to Build, and what you're looking at in terms of local match capacity right now, which I take is kind of a driving factor in what the overall scope of the project would be?
Yeah, we'll have to figure out how much local match between the county and the city that we can actually show is available. Build is requiring a 20% match. For rural areas, it says they will waive that requirement. And it happens that we're straddling both an urban and a rural census tract with this project. So we're going to do our best to frame it as a rural project. But I think we're going to target that 20% match.
Gene?
So some of the match, we can count the right-of-way that the county acquired doing the Mullen Sewer project, right? Is that part of what's going to get counted?
Right. All of the undeveloped right-of-way can be used as a local match. So that's a significant portion. It's probably in the neighborhood of $3 to $4 million of land value. So that'll go a long ways towards getting us to that 20%.
What are we looking at for total project cost or total grant amount at this point?
The 2017 ask was right around $20 million. Right now, with all of the things included, we're sitting at about $26 million. I think we need to shave off a few things to get that down. I think ideally it would be closer to $15 million in the Tiger or the build portion that we're asking for. Just my gut sense that that's going to be more competitive.
Thanks. Okay, any more questions? Okay, so process-wise, we're looking for an MPO letter of support. I don't know, Aaron, do you want to talk to that or speak to that process at all?
Sure, I think so. Basically the approval we're looking for is for TPCC to authorize us to write a letter of support from the MPO and endorsed by TPCC that would then be signed by the chair. It's kind of the approach we take occasionally with these letters. You know, ideally we would have it written ahead of time and brought and approved, but the turnaround time and the timeline on these projects is pretty short. And so we're hoping to just be able to write that letter of support and get TPCC's support for signing that, or authorizing the chair to sign a letter of support, if that makes sense.
Okay, thanks. Don.
Aaron, so I guess the question is, if more than one application goes in to build, do you think that there is any downside for TPCC to support more than one proposal from a community?
I don't think so. I mean, this project is in the long-range plan. It's part of our, I don't know, I think it was unfunded portion of the long-range plan, but identified need for this area, so it's a project that's already in there. I think we would generally recommend supporting projects that are going to bring funding in to help build some of those unfunded projects. And I think it's totally fine to support multiple projects in the area. I mean, with these kinds of grants, they're always a little bit of a long shot, and so you sort of never really know what you're going to get awarded. And they're fairly opportunistic funding sources as well. So you go for the projects that are ready, that fit the criteria. Does that answer?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's valuable planning to be done in this region, so I support the idea of at least updating what we're thinking in the area, and I guess I just want to make sure that we're maximizing our potential at build to be awarded.
Yeah.
Dave?
So Don, is there another build proposal being prepared by someone in Missoula County?
So there's been discussion about the Brook Street corridor as a Tiger/build project, and a group's been working on that corridor for several years now to try to develop a build proposal. Aaron's been sitting in on that group, as has Jordan. So that is, in my view, maybe matches the criteria to be awarded by build better than this project. So that is, I guess, why I raised the question.
Sure. So is it likely that that will be submitted during this cycle? Because I think it is germane in that certainly if we want to, if not now, at some point in the future, get fully, collectively put our support behind a project to maximize the chances of getting it, then we should be looking at multiple projects.
Mayor?
Yeah, and we've deliberately timed the Brook Street corridor application, if it happens, so that these two applications aren't in competition. So we've been pretty strategic about that. So I think support for this project isn't mutually exclusive of support for another project in another funding cycle.
Jean?
In our past experience too, you just, even if you did have competing ones, it seems like the review committees, whoever they are, seem to end up with something they really like anyway. So if they were two unsimilar projects, one might get funded and one might not, but it might not matter in the end. But I'm glad to hear they aren't going to compete.
Dave?
Yeah, I'd go ahead and make a motion that we authorize staff drafting a support letter.
The motion is in order. Is there a second? Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Any additional discussion on this? Kevin or Bert? Public comment? Okay. So in authorizing the letter of support, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And then any opposed, no? Okay, that passes, and we will. I will work directly with Aaron to get that authorized, or to get that signed at the appropriate time, and we'll circulate it to everyone. So thank you for that. Thanks, Jeremy. So our final item is the Community Transportation Safety Plan Consultant Selection Update.
Yeah, so we just wanted to give a quick update. We submitted, or had an open RFP to contract for consultants to help us give an update to the Community Transportation Safety Plan that closed over a week ago, on June 8th. We had 2 proposals and worked with the selection committee to score those proposals. They came in from Dowell and Robert Pescia Associates. And so those committees, members scored the proposals, we got those back, they were pretty close. The RTA proposal was just a little, looking at the overall proposal and the cost, is a little bit more competitive. And so I think we're going to move forward with working on trying to get a contract with RTA. So it's mostly just an update for your benefit that we're moving ahead. We did have some consultants that applied this time. It was the second issue of the RFP. The first time we didn't receive any applicants, so we're happy to get a couple on this round. And so the next step is moving for negotiating a contract, and then we'll be taking that through city council to authorize us to move forward with hiring those consultants, and then we'll hopefully get started with that process mid to late summer. So it's kind of mostly an informational item to give you an update on that. That we are going to get consultants, so we're moving forward with that selection. We have them on board and working within a couple weeks of a month.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know if Dave has anything to add to that, but.
Dave, you have anything to add?
Sorry, we were chatting. I think that's all we have.
That sounds good. Any questions from the committee? Jean?
So just remind me what kinds of things they'll be looking at safety things, street lights, whether we need stop signs, roundabouts. I mean, is that what they kind of look at?
So it's updating our existing community transportation safety plan. So that plan, we have almost 10 years of data now on crashes. So it's taking a really in-depth look at where those crashes are occurring and looking at the different emphasis areas that we have established already. So we'll be re-reviewing the emphasis areas, updating those as needed, looking to see if we've made enough progress to refocus on where we're putting most of our efforts. And then, looking at the updated data and incorporating some new items such as emerging technology, like starting to at least talk about autonomous vehicles, e-bikes, some of these other things that are coming on board fairly quickly. So we'll try to start to integrate those. And then the other piece is getting the federal performance measures into there and integrating that into the CTSP. Anything else, Dave? No, good. We anticipate taking about a year, hopefully wrapping up next spring or early summer. There's a couple of meetings associated with that to inform the public and some feedback on where we're headed.
Okay, thanks. Any additional comments or questions? Okay. Any comments from the audience? Okay. Thank you for the update. And now just on to announcements and closing comments. Anything for the good of the order? Jean?
Doesn't necessarily relate to transportation, but the Milltown State Park at the confluence will open, the grand opening is 11 o'clock on Saturday, if anyone's interested in coming.
Great, thanks. Okay, without anything further, we'll be adjourned. Thanks, everyone.